Okay, so here's a cabinet. This says LB on it. I think it's Lyra's base. Man, she's got a lot of holes in this thing. Why are there so many holes in here, Lyra?
Hi, Javraj.
Stay on top, Miguel. Okay, so we're gonna screw on our base. Now, oh, Lyra, you didn't get to it. We're gonna have to do this first. Before we screw the base on, first question says, who remembers what we have to do to the base first to make sure it's not gonna chip? Does anybody remember what we have to do?
Hand plane or sand it.
Hand plane or sand it, and what are we gonna do with the hand plane or the sander?
Sand the bottom edges.
We're gonna take off the bottom edge. We're gonna chamfer it. A chamfer means if this is my corner, I'm gonna cut a 45 on it. I'm gonna chamfer that. I'll draw it real quick on the board. So a chamfer looks like this. This is the bottom of my base. I'm gonna take the edge off at a 45. You can't really see that. I'm using the wrong marker. I gotta throw that thing up. This is my base. I'm gonna chamfer the edge off at a 45 so that it doesn't chip here as I drag it along the floor. Maybe the inside will chip, but nobody can see that. The outside won't chip. So it maintains its cool look and nice and clean. And I'm going to throw out this marker. Yes. Okay. And play. All righty. It's like a nice beat up chipped hand plane. Perfect. So I'm going to look at the grain direction, and it's kind of coming down this way. So I'm going to play in this direction, and I'm just going to sit my planer at a 45 or close to it. And I'm just going to take off the very edge of it. Hello. There we go. That's a chamfer. Done. One done. I'm just going to go around. I'm going to watch near the edge of my cut that I don't, oops, wrong way, that I don't break off the ends of these miters. So if I'm coming along here with my hand planer and I hit this grain direction going this way, it's going to chip out like crazy. So I'm going to go this direction to my other miter because the overlap is a little bit higher on this side. So I shouldn't really touch that other miter going this direction. That's good. I'm going to leave that as is. One pass is fine. Especially for this is actually the front of my cabinet, and that's the nicest look. One little pass. It's not even noticeable, really, once the cabinet's on the floor, but it's going to make all the difference for your to not chip. Good, done. One pass. Yeah, it chipped a little. That's against the wall, so I'm not worried about that part. So almost all 3 out of 4 done. I got one more to go. Now this one is going to take a little extra work because this is sticking up so much. So I'm going to start my chamfer. It's going to stop there, and I can finish it with a sander, a chisel, something nice and sharp. Just to kind of curl up the end for a nice little chamfer there. Okay. So it's been chamfered. So first question on the quiz, we're going to take the edge off of the chamfer to make sure that this doesn't chip as I drag my cabinet around on the floor. Okay, second part of the quiz. We have our cabinet here. It's going to sit on top of this guy, and we're going to put the screws through the cleats into my cabinet to secure it together. But the easier way to do this is upside down. So I'm going to turn this upside down with the front of my cabinet forward. Nope, the back of my cabinet, because I'm going to line these rabbets up. I'm going to line these rabbets up with the back of my cabinet here. So now we're almost ready to go. I have a clamp to kind of get this snug, but it's upside down. We got our cleats against the floor. We want our cleats against the cabinet. And our miters to the front of the cabinet. So our miters are in the front. Our rabbits are to the back. We're going to line this guy up flush against the wall, and that'll be really important later when we put our 1/4 inch back on. It's going to sit on top of the base. And I'm going to make sure that I'm maintaining the same gap on both sides here. So I'm going to get a clamp kind of snuggish. And then I'm going to use a combo square to set the distance. So I'm way tighter to this side. So I'm going to bump them over just a skosh, keeping my clamp engaged. Made a little gap here, a little gap here. So I'm going to bring out my combo square a little bit, sort of as a depth gauge. And I'm going to set there, little gap. So I'm going to bring it out a little bit more, maybe a 1/16, if that. So flush there, tight there. We'll bring it back in a little bit. I'm sure there's a quicker way to determine this, but I'm too lazy to calculate it. So flush there. I cannot set this thing just right for the life of me. We're going to be here till 3:25. There we go. Flush. Flush. All right. And we're flush at the back. So I'm going to check the front. Good. Not so good. I don't know how square this thing is. So my dad grades roads for a living. His thing is always slow down, do it right the first time, and instead of grading a road in 10 passes, you can grade a road in 2 passes. 1 for each side. That's really the way to go. Take your time, slow it down, do it right the first time. Sometimes we think when we're really busy and doing things quickly, we're being efficient. But the vast majority of the time, we're just being super inefficient. Would you agree, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
We had a foreman that used to jump in the grader while my dad was having his coffee break or his lunch break. And he was flat out. Hair straight back. And then my dad would spend the rest of the day fixing little spoons. Oh, it's pretty funny to watch. Okay, we're ready to go. We are going to put screws in here. And what length? So I'm going to measure this. These cleats should be 3/4 inch wide and thick. Just bang on. So I've got just over 3/4, maybe 11/16 with the gap, with the millimeter gap that we have here. Maybe 11/16. But just a skosh over 3/4. So I got 3/4 and 3/4, 1.5, plus my 16. I should be safe with an 1.5 screw, but I don't really trust.
Jason Estimada. Jason, if you're in the building, can you come to the office, please?
Jason Estimada. Spanish for estimate. I don't know. Some of these look a little deep, that Lyra countersunk. So we're going to go with 1.25 inch. And we're going to do it the lazy way. We're going to use the driver. Nice and tight. So that millimeter gap is really nice because it's going to really cinch down onto our cabinet with a little tension. That's a good thing. I take it back, Lyra. Your countersinking procedure is perfect. Those screw heads are flush.
Sir, I don't know what you're talking about. Half of them are like hella deep when I first did it. I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
But you redid them. There's 2. One's too deep. This one's good. Well, if you guys have watched my other videos, but what I've said before, and I'll say it again, it's not about not making mistakes. It's how you cover them up, right? Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Hella deep. I like that. Those countersunk holes are hella deep, Mr. Lawrence. Yes, they are. First one's away. You just got carried away with our brand new countersinking bits. They're nice and sharp. Easy to do. That might even be alder. This one, maybe. That's probably why. It's a little softer than maple. You get a little alder, a little maple. Okay, happy times. Our base is on. I could literally lift this and drop it with a helicopter and it wouldn't break off. Nice and tight. It's flush with the back, so now you guys get a good view of that. Our base needs to be flush with the back of our cabinet with these gables because our 1/4 inch back is going to fit right in here in this rabbet that we cut, this 1/4 inch rabbet. And then our gap from the bottom to the back of our gables. Our piece is going to fit right in there on top of our base so it doesn't slide down. So our base is going to be nice and flush. So that's done. I don't have a top for Lyra's cabinet, so we're going to put the top on a different cabinet. So for this, we're going to grab another cabinet. We're going to turn it upside down so that our top right here is downward. So then I can use gravity. I'm not fighting to drill upwards all the time. And I put one screw in for period 4. We're going to pop that guy out. And I'm going to show you the process for how to put to screw down our top. So next question on the quiz. Our top is screwed on through the top web frame. So this web frame here, you guys can see this web frame, this web frame. So this is our top web frame because it's upside down. This is our top web frame, this is our bottom web frame. We're gonna screw through this into our top, okay? Now, if I wanna do that, this bottom web frame gets in the way. And I can't really get in there with a tiny screwdriver and turn the screw. That would be nearly impossible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill an access hole through the bottom web frame into the top web frame. So this bit is going to make my access hole into my top web frame. I've got an extension with a countersinking bit on it to countersink into my top web frame. And then I can put my impact through the access hole into my top web frame and screw into my top. So the first thing I want to do is set it just right. Now, unfortunately, this cabinet doesn't have any face edging on it yet. So I'm going to back set my carcass 3/4 of an inch to allow for that. So let's do that first. 3/4 inch off. Bring them ahead a little bit. Ahead a little bit. 3/4 is what we want. Why not an inch and a half? This thing is super hard to read. Oh, this side's easier. There we go. Inch and a half. A little closer to the front. So now I've set my offset backwards. I'm going to make sure that my gap is the same on both sides. I'm just going to take a little peek here. And what I can do is I can close my eyes and run my thumbs along. As long as I still have 2 thumbs. I haven't been in the industry too long. And I can feel that my gap is even on both sides. And then I can clamp this down and screw it down. You don't have to close your eyes. I just find that if you rob your senses of one sense, then the others can be more powerful, just like Batman. Oh wait, he's not blind. Who's blind? Daredevil. Daredevil has super hearing, right? as he's flying. Okay, so we're gonna drill our access hole first. Just poking through, so you want to slow down at the end. So you don't do that. Not bad. At least the drawer's in the way. Nobody's going to see the breakout. Okay, we've got our access hole. We're going to take our countersinking bit. And we're going to countersink through the web frame on the top so we can put a screw in there. Beautiful. Okay, now we're ready with our 1.5 inch screw. So you got 3/4 and 3/4, 1.5 inch. So I had to make up for the 1/2 inch gap in between, so I countersunk a little deeper like Lyra. Really picking on you today, Lyra, sorry. Beauty. Oh, nice. It's got a piece under there. Beautiful. Prevent the breakout. No, why didn't I think of that? A smart one in this couple, obviously. Okay. So that's good. Normally we do 4 access holes, 4 countersinks, and 4 screws for the purposes of today, because we're going to have to take this top off again to glue everything on, put it on our door and drawer. This is just to show you how to put it on. We're not actually going to finish putting it on today. That's enough for another day. So, done deal. Our top is on. So, it's not going to fall off. Okay. So, we've covered 3 questions on the quiz. We covered our bottom chamfer. We covered our bottom cleats, how to put the base. Base chamfer, our base cleats, how to install that, and how to install our top. So we've screwed the top through the top web frame into the top. And now we're going to put on our bottom edging. So bottom edging. Where is this piece found? So this cabinet should look a little familiar. We've got a drawer, and we've got some ugly plywood here that's showing. So this is our bottom piece. We need to edge this plywood to get rid of that ugly plywood, that look that we don't want. So we're going to mill up a little piece. Mr. Kamali found this for us, a nice piece of hickory, a little bit of color to it so it matches the rest of the cabinet. I think it's pretty slick. We are just going to quickly clean it up on the planer, or the thickness sander rather, because it's pretty much ready to go straight from the scrap bin. And at a 1/4 inch thickness and 3/4 inch wide. Now the thickness isn't too crucial. We like to go about a 1/4 inch thick, and I'll show you why. For this bottom edging piece, if I maintain a 1/4 inch thickness, I've got a little hole underneath my door. This allows for airflow in and out of the cabinet, so I don't get some weird echoey, some air chatter as I close my door and as I open my door. And so having this little 1/4 inch piece here, it's inset back from the face of the cabinet and my door closing. Then I don't have a seal here. There's actually a gap. If there's a gap here for airflow, then I won't get that chatter. So I got a little 1/4 inch bottom edging to go on here. It's not 3/4 inch like our styles. It's 1/4 inch thick for our bottom edging. So you're gonna want to remember that number. Okay. So this guy, this bottom edging is pretty well ready to go. And you guys have seen me joint and plane and all that a whole bunch, so I'm not really concerned about that. We're pretty much ready to cut this to finish length. So to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to unclip our door. And I'm just going to make a mark for finished length, as long as I have one end that's square. So let me check that first. I'm going to check for square. That end's not bad, actually. It's really nice and square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check mark my square end. Boop. And I'm going to mark the other end exactly where I want to cut it. Now, I'm not going to cut right on the mark, as usual, when I mark in place. I'm going to leave my pencil line. And then if I have to make 2 cuts, I got to make 2 cuts. But I don't want to cut right on the line in case it's too short. So be very careful when you're cutting in place. You want these cuts, measure twice, cut once, or, cut twice, but don't make it too short. I don't know. I'm really ruining the quote here. So I've left the pencil line on there, and look at that. Now you see, it fits perfectly, and I'm going to show you where my mark was. This is where marking in place can really fool you. I left that much wood. You can actually visibly see the entire pencil line, plus a pencil line thickness on the wood, and look at how it fits. So marking in place, human error is huge here. Like that's a perfect fit, and I actually left some extra. So whenever you mark in place, there's going to be things that affect the way that it's marked, and it's usually the angle of your piece when you're marking it. So this piece will be slightly angled, and I eyeballed where the pencil mark is. I didn't use a tape measure. That's going to be short. 75% of the time it's going to be too short. 25% of the time it'll be too long, but you can bet on it being too short. So leaving your cuts long when you're cutting in place, you're marking in place, you're not measuring. You really want to leave it long. Okay. So an alternative to that is using a tape measure, getting it really precise. But if you know the tips and tricks of the trade, you can get away with marking in place. So we're going to do a dry fit from the back. So another reason why I don't have the back on my cabinet yet, I think somebody asked me that earlier. How come we don't put it in the back next? We're not going to put it in the back yet because we want to be able to clamp this on here really easily. With a 1/4-inch plywood back on this cabinet, it makes it really difficult to put these clamps on so nice and easily. Bam. So this front edging's done. It's flush to the bottom. It's actually just a scotch under flush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that set just so I'm happy with it. I'm going to snug this one. I'm going to back this one off, and I'm going to throw the door underneath this cabinet. So I've got a little space there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to adjust this a little bit up. You guys have heard me use the word flush a million times. The best way to check that is with your thumb. We're a little bit low. I'm just going to come up a little bit, and it's nice and flush now. So if you have it a little proud, you can sand it down, but nobody likes sanding. So try to get it as close as you can. Same as our top edging. We've done this before. Okay, I'm really happy with that fit. Now, mistake I made period 4 is I'm going to mark this. I'm just going to mark a little T for top. So I know exactly where this is going to go back. If I want to be really precise, I'm going to put an arrow. I'm going to remember the arrow is pointing in against my cabinet, something like that. It's just some sort of mark so that when you take this apart, it's going to go back together exactly the same way again. And the reason being for that is, hey, nobody's cabinet is square. Nobody's cabinet is perfect. And if you put it together differently, it might not fit the way you want. but then you've got glue all over everything and it's too late. So I've got my arrow, I got my T. That's going to go in the same way. So mark it how you wish, but just mark it, for crying out loud. Please. So I'm just going to get some glue all over this plywood here and the table. We got our scrap paper. I'm going to rub it in good. This plywood, as you guys found out, soaks up a lot of glue. So we're going to work it in real good with our digits to make sure we don't get a starved joint. We're after a little bit of squeeze out. And I could glue the ends, but this is only a 1/4 inch piece and a butt joint isn't really that strong anyway. So I'm not going to glue my stiles. I'm just going to leave this as is. Okay, I got a nice skin of glue on there. I've been very generous, got plenty. So we're going to glue this guy on. So my T and my arrow pointing in. I'm going to get this guy just so. Real nice there. And then clamp her down. Okay. Make sure I don't get glue all over my project. I'm going to start in the middle so I don't end up with a kink. You know, it seems weird, but it's actually a thing. Okay, getting a nice glue squeeze out along here. Move that guy over a little bit. And más. Okay, good. Nice and clean. I got one more long one there, Mr. Kamali. I just noticed a little gap. Sometimes that'll happen. Thanks. Hello. There we go. A little overkill, but at least she's closed up. Okay, very happy with that. Our bottom edging is installed. I can wait till our glue gets a little gummy and then just give it a nice quick scrape with just about anything. It'll come off of there real nice, especially off of the pre-finished plywood. It's gonna come off there real easy. So our door is off for now. We'll lay it over here. Oh, it's underneath. It's underneath our project, I forgot. For the edging. It's already done. Thanks. Well, this is period 4. Bottom edging from last class already finished. Mr. Kamali scraped the glue for us. Hey, Mr. Kamali. What a beauty. Okay, thank you. Okay, finally, our back. So our cabinet back. Baby got back. Okay. So we've got cabinet back to go yet. So basically, it's a big old rectangle, 15 by 20, same as our cables. So a 15 by 20 inch back. I like to measure both sides in case it's out just a little bit. And I'll measure the bottom, measure the middle, I'll measure the top. The top, I got 15 and maybe a 32nd. And in the middle, I got adjusted. It actually looks a little, just slightly like a 64th under 15 inches maybe. So it's going to be tighter in the middle. And that's just due to the way that this case was glued up. So that'll happen. If I cut 15, I think I can wedge it in there it'll be a nice friction fit. So let's have a look at what we can find. There it is. So I table side and I miter side, and here's my cabinet back. Can you believe it? Look at that. It fits really nice. Really nice. So nice, barely fits. I can't get it out. Okay, so what are we looking at here? This is how thick? Anybody want to guess? Thickness of our plywood? I've said it a few times already. This cabinet is 3/4 inches thick. Our drawer material is only 1/2 inch thick. And our drawer bottom, this guy and this guy, are actually the same material. And they are how thick? Nobody wants to guess? Better check the chat. Nope, nothing in the chat. 1/4 inch. Oh, there's all kinds of answers in the chat. How come I didn't get a notification? Beautiful. Yeah, 1/4 inch. Very close, Anthony. 1/4 inch is more like 6 mils, but yeah, bang on. Perfect. Okay. So 1/4 inch thickness. That's the size of that back. So we've officially pretty much finished our cabinet. The base is on, the back is on, the top is on, our front edging is on. Who remembers, or who can figure out for me, which piece is missing to end our class today?
Drawer front.
Nice, the drawer front. Where's our drawer front? Now, the reason we wait for that sucker is when I put my top on, and I put my door on, I know exactly the gap I want here and the gap I want here once my top and my drawer and my door is on. So our drawer face is our very last piece. It's our crowning glory. It's really easy to make. You're going to make it the same length as the width of your door. And this width here is going to be determined by basically a sort of a maybe a 1/4 or 1/2 inch gap. We're gonna, oh, that's easily a 1/2 inch. Probably a 1/2 inch gap here, 1/2 inch gap here is going to determine your width. And thickness is the same as your door, 3/4. So everything just lines up really nice that way. So drawer face tomorrow.